Her daughter never imagined her parents would become weak like everyone else. She thought she would continue to see them as superheroes who could handle anything. However, everything changed after one fateful day. Let's take a look at this touching story. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling lake, there lived a young woman named Sarah. Her parents, John and Mary, were the epitome of strength and resilience. They had faced life's challenges head-on and emerged even stronger. For Sarah, they were real-life superheroes who could fix anything, from a leaky faucet to a broken heart. As Sarah grew up, she saw her father, John, as an invincible figure. He was a carpenter by trade, and his calloused hands, which seemed to know every trick and solution, were a testament to his prowess. No matter how complicated a task was, her father had a solution. He could repair a chair with just a few hammer strikes or craft a wooden toy with such precision it looked like it had come out of a factory. And he did all of this with a smile. Her mother, Mary, was the embodiment of warmth and wisdom. Her kitchen was a place of healing. The aroma of her soups and stews filled the house on cold winter nights, chasing away any lingering gloom. If anyone in town needed a helping hand, Mary was always there. Whether it was a shoulder to cry on, a listening ear, or a plate of freshly baked cookies, she offered solace and kindness to all. Sarah saw her mother as a magician who could turn a bad day into a good one. As Sarah grew older, she started to understand the reasons behind her parents' strength. Their shared belief in the power of hard work, their commitment to their family, and their compassionate nature were the pillars that made them who they were. In their eyes, every obstacle was a stepping stone, and every problem a puzzle to be solved. This perspective became the bedrock of Sarah's own character. However, life had a way of testing even the strongest of wills. One day, the invincible dad collapsed while working on a project in the basement. It was a heart attack brought on by years of stress. "It's okay, honey," Mom said, holding Dad's hand. "Everything's going to be all right." But deep down, Sarah knew things would never be the same. Her dad, the man who seemed to have all the answers, was now lying on a hospital bed with tubes and wires attached to him. The incident left an indelible mark on Sarah. She began to see her parents not as superheroes, but as ordinary people who were scared and vulnerable. But instead of shrinking away from this realization, Sarah stepped up. She visited her parents daily, ensuring they never felt alone. She helped her mother with household chores and talked for hours with her father, sharing stories and laughter. One night, as Sarah sat beside her father's bed, she noticed a change in him. His usual strength and vitality seemed to have vanished, replaced by a fragility that mirrored her own growing fears. A single tear rolled down his wrinkled face, not a tear of pain, but of quiet dignity. In that moment, Sarah understood that her parents, despite their years of strength and resilience, were now as vulnerable as anyone else. She wasn't just their daughter. She was their anchor to the world, their lifeline to normalcy. Weeks turned into months, and her father slowly recovered. Although the spark in his eyes had dimmed, his spirit remained unbroken. The doctor said it was a miracle he pulled through the heart attack, and he was lucky to have such a devoted caregiver. All this talk about luck made Sarah uncomfortable. She didn't feel lucky. She was simply doing what she had to do for the people she loved. One evening, as the setting sun cast long shadows across the room, Sarah found herself sitting in the kitchen with her parents. The room was filled with the comforting aroma of her mother's cooking, but the usual joy was absent. Her father's hand, once so strong and sure, trembled slightly as he lifted his cup of tea. His eyes, usually twinkling with mischief, were clouded with worry. "Sarah," her father began, his voice unusually shaky. "I know we haven't been easy on you lately. You're still so young, and yet you've taken on more responsibilities than most people twice your age." Sarah, taken aback by his words, looked at her parents, puzzled. What do you mean? This is my family and I love you both. Taking care of you is the least I can do. Her mother reached out, her touch gentle yet firm. We know, dear, that you're also young and you have your dreams, your aspirations. We don't want you to put your life on hold for us. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. She hadn't realized how deeply her actions had affected her parents. All she had done was what she believed was right, what any loving child would do for their parents. That night, as Sarah lay in her bed, she couldn't sleep. Her parents' words echoed in her mind. She understood their concern, but she couldn't imagine doing anything else. Giving up her life for them wasn't a sacrifice. It was a privilege. In the days that followed, Sarah found herself torn between her love for her parents and her desire for her own life. She loved her parents dearly, and the idea of them needing her was comforting. But she also had dreams, aspirations that were starting to feel stifled. Then one day, an opportunity presented itself. A job offer in another city came along, one that aligned perfectly with her interests and skills. Sarah was ecstatic, but the joy was short-lived. She knew accepting the offer would mean leaving her parents behind. The thought of leaving her parents, especially in their current state, was unbearable. She couldn't imagine how she would bear the guilt of not being there for them. As the day of her departure neared, Sarah found herself spending more and more time with her parents. She cherished these moments, knowing that each one was a precious memory in the making. On the day she was supposed to leave, Sarah found herself sitting in the living room with her parents. The silence was heavy with unspoken emotions. Finally, her mother broke the silence. Sarah, sweetheart, we know how much this opportunity means to you. Don't let us hold you back. Sarah looked at her mother, her eyes brimming with gratitude and love. But Mom, Dad, I couldn't leave you. What would happen to you? Her father reached out, his hand calloused yet reassuringly familiar. We'll manage, Sarah. You have to think about yourself, your happiness. Besides, he added with a wink, who's going to take care of your mother if you don't? Everyone laughed, the tension easing. With a heavy heart, Sarah hugged her parents, promising to visit often. As she drove away, the image of their smiling faces etched in her mind. She knew she had made the right decision. Months turned into years. Sarah thrived in her new city, excelling in her career and making new friends. Yet she never forgot her roots. Every holiday, she would return home, bringing with her tales of her adventures and achievements. One day, while visiting, Sarah noticed a change in her parents, not their health, but their spirits. They seemed more vibrant, more engaged in life. It was then she learned that her parents had joined the senior activity center. They were traveling, dancing, and socializing. Overwhelmed with happiness for her parents, Sarah realized that responsibility wasn't a burden, but a different form of love. Love that meant ensuring their happiness, not just in their final years, but in every chapter of their lives. From that day on, Sarah continued to support her parents, not just financially, but emotionally too. She celebrated their milestones, big and small, cherishing every moment. In return, her parents gave her the greatest gift of all, the gift of unconditional love and support. Now, whenever Sarah faced a challenge, she remembered her father's words. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, she thought of her mother's comforting embrace. Their love was her strength, their belief in her, her guiding light. Sarah understood that responsibility wasn't a burden, but a different form of love, and she wouldn't have it any other way. And that, my friends, is the story of Sarah, a story about love, responsibility, and the unbreakable bond between a daughter and her parents.